Nightreign has expanded the world of Eldenring, showing a different side to what has transpired in the lands between. It also expanded the gameplay we're accustomed to from the FromSoft franchise, adding in dynamic abilities that can be modified with the use of relics and ultimates that change the course of an entire fight. A much bigger change was the introduction of expeditions. Contrary to rumors before the title's release, Nightreign was never planned to be a sequel or even a prequel to Elden Ring. It was always meant to be a testing ground for new gameplay mechanics, offering multiplayer matchmaking for the first time in the series, as a party of 3 players choose a Night Lord to hunt down and are given 3 days to accomplish this feat. This choice in gameplay loop is what either excited players or eventually drove them away, those hoping for a 100-hour-long storyline to go through with the boys. With the huge success of Nightreign, the promise for a multiplayer story-driven title is much closer than most people realize. After being released, outside of adding in the ever-dark Sovereign bosses, a harder version of the Night Lord boss fights, the game had nothing else to provide the players. Its entire gameplay philosophy revolving around hunting down 8 Night Lords, which can be completed within 5 hours of casual gameplay, after which the players have to be creative to keep playing the game, either doing challenge runs or just placing it into the background while talking to friends. The aforementioned Everdark Sovereign bosses are a good filler, assuming that this content drought would only last until the promised DLC dropping later this year, but even that will run out relatively fast. I would call myself a casual player, with the responsibilities of real life and a job taking up most of my time. I spent just under 100 hours in Nightreign, completing all remembrances and earning all achievements. Comparing that to my Elden Ring record, which was played under the same conditions, it pales in comparison dramatically. While it's in a good spot right now, Nightreign can improve on a lot of fronts, and the developers are aware of this. Their most recent addition, the 2-player queue, being a testament to this. They are listening to the players, they are open to feedback, and that should reassure us that changes we would like to see are being considered and hopefully implemented. So, with the game's bright future still ahead of us, here's 10 additions Nightreign can and should add to the game either as an update or with the upcoming DLC. As a heads up, these are my thoughts and my opinions, which should not be considered definitive at all. If you have anything to add to these thoughts, please share them in the comments. And while we're here, consider dropping a like and subscribing. Creating videos around the games that I love bring me a lot of joy, and your support would only contribute to that. I appreciate it greatly, and now, let's get into the video. Number 1. The lack of content. Addressing the elephant in the room and circling back to what I touched on previously, the game released with 8 total expeditions, each one masterfully executed, with some driving us nuts a lot harder than others, but still upping the ante when it comes to FromSoftware's amazing boss fights. However, those 8 expeditions were enough to occupy most of the players for a month tops, before getting way too repetitive and boring. The first few interactions the players have with them are the most important ones, creating strategies to defeat them, learning their weaknesses, and generally having that triumphant feeling of beating them with a sliver of HP left. That only lasts for the first 10 tries a player has on the certain boss. With constant updates, we received the data-mined hard mode version of the bosses, called the Everdark Sovereigns. Each boss fight either having a new gimmick or a completely new phase 2, which adds to the intensity of the boss fight. These hard mode expeditions brought us a new currency, and the collector signboard merchant from whom we got our hands on new chalices, relics, and the ability to shift the earth manually. The solution to this problem? New bosses and expeditions. Naturally, this is a very simple addition that is, more than likely, one of the main focuses for the Nightreign team, seeing as the success of the DLC kind of rests on the addition of these new bosses. FromSoft has a lot of avenues to explore with adding new bosses, having one big DLC that adds the same or close to the same amount of bosses, or having multiple smaller batches of gimmick bosses, hopefully ones that have a weakness against magic damage, seeing as is the only elemental damage type that wasn't utilized in this manner. Number 2. More Nightfarers. Nightreign has shed its customizable features for a more predetermined hero-style multiplayer game, focusing on 8 distinct Nightfarers, each equipped with their patented abilities and gimmicks. Wylder, the poster boy of the game, being the fighter of the party, alongside Executor. Guardian and Raider being the beefy frontliners, the Duchess being the mobile DPS assassin, ironeye being the long-range DPS, while the Recluse and Revenant are the mage and the summoner, respectively. Not a bad lineup at all, for the first few months of the game. Having access to every weapon preset in the base Elden Ring, you can get away with such a small roster of characters, since you can experiment with different builds and weapons for each of them. This fact, however, doesn't change the playstyle around their abilities and ultimates. A colossal wielding Revenant will still be the summoner class, only difference being that she's just doing a challenge where she won't use her abilities. Every FromSoft game has had more than 8 playable classes, the only exception being Dark Souls 2. Even in the games where the starting class can mean nothing by the midpoint of it, has more classes to pick from than the one that solely relies on them. FromSoft has opportunities to add clerics, paladins, monks, hell, even dedicated healers, since the game lacks them so much. And no, relics that make certain characters heal their party members upon using their ultimate don't count as dedicated healers. And neither does the Flask also heals allies relic. If someone has to become an alcoholic to become a healer, then the fantasy part just goes out the window. They can go as far as creating classes that are out of the norm of classic RPGs, like Dragon Hunter or Perfumer. The possibilities are endless, but we do need more than 8 characters. Number 3, starting item variety. Tying into the last point, character customization is very limited, and it should not be like that at all. Although, understandably, weapons are the easiest to find and collect in the game, we should not rely on RNG, and instead have a pool of starting items that we can replace each character's personal ones with. This way, it would not be 100% necessary to throw them away at the first sight of a blue or purple item. It could even have ties with the lore, like the Iron Manual handcrafted these weapons for the player, or even reach out to the other timeline and the weapons being crafted by a prisoner of the Round Table, referencing Smithing Master Hugh. Alternatively, each character could have a progression system, where you can gain experience on each Nightfarer and upgrade your starting weapons, adding more damage or affinities to it. Wylder's worn and rugged greatsword would become a pristine one, ready to slay gods. Pretty unrealistic, since it would interfere with the relic system in a few ways, but it would add a meaningful reward for playing those certain characters, apart from playing the roulette for randomized relics. Number 4, more garbs. Still staying on the topic of customization for a bit, let's talk about garbs, or skins. Huge kudos to FromSoft for going on the path of unlockables, instead of greedily monetizing every single cosmetic. In a different timeline, FromSoft EA probably has 3 battle passes per week, and has 50 different Fortnite dances instead of the normal emotes we have. Luckily, you won't have to spend a dime on any of these beautiful garbs. Every character comes equipped with 2 basic skin lines, Dawn and Darkness, most of them looking very crisp and sensational. Favorite ones being the Raiders and Guardians Darkness garb, and the Revenants and Executors Dawn garbs, along with skins that reflect the past of the Nightfarers. Some are just minor changes, like adding an ornament or putting on a helmet, while some completely alter the character's look. And last but not least, the reference garbs. Cosmetics you unlock for purchase after defeating Holster, the Night Lord. Each character possesses 2 garbs that recalls either a character or an armor set from previous entries in the FromSoft games. Many iconic references are present as a memento. Havel the Rock, Sister Freed, the Emerald Herald, Artorias the Abyss Walker, Solaire of Astora, and my personal favorite, the Faram Knight, among many more. To say there were some missed opportunities for reference garbs would be a huge understatement, seeing as some obvious matches were either overlooked or disregarded, such as Sir Alan skin for the Executor, or Lucatil of Mira for the Duchess, maybe Executioner Smo for the Raider, or perhaps if we stretch it a little bit, Crossbreed Priscilla garb for the Revenant, with a little tail flapping in the wind while running. The possibilities are endless yet again, and these reference skins costing only 7,500 merc would incentivize everyone to purchase all of them to look like the legends from previous titles. Number 5, randomized bosses. Something that makes battle royale games so interesting to play and want to keep playing, despite the fact that it's the same gameplay loop on the same map, is the randomness associated with it. One game you might have the worst luck possible and only pick up a melee weapon, while the next an airdrop might land right in front of you with the best possible loot imaginable. It's random encounters and the probability for anything to happen. That's something we thought we might have with Nightreign as well, seeing as the gameplay loop is very similar to that of other BR titles, but that's not the case at all. Every location has its own pool of bosses it chooses from, same for field bosses and even night bosses. With the age of the internet, knowing this information is one click away, and preparing for them is a piece of cake. Despite many factors being random, such as the player's landing location or settlement placement, the bosses spread across the map can be easily telegraphed, depending on the chosen expedition. While it's understandable that having purely randomized bosses in every location of the map would present some difficulties, such as the magma worm in the basement of the castle. It would be a more dynamic experience to go into an expedition blindly and be surprised by bosses you've never seen before in those certain settlements. Considering both sides of the coin, I think there should be a middle ground where randomized boss spawns would exist, with the only exception being the terrain and the subsequent lack thereof. If a boss is too big to fit into the small corridors of the castle basement, it should not spawn there. Number 6. New maps or shifting earth events. Limveld is a very interesting spin on the coexisting Limgrave of Eldenring, with its beautiful foliage, sky-high mountainscape, and rivers filled with serenity. However, as opposed to its predecessor, Nightreign forces the player to stay within the confinements of Limveld. One cannot just simply go to Liurnia or the Altus Plateau. The shifting earth events change the scenery a bit, introducing the crater, reminiscent of the Volcano Manor, the rotted woods, reminding us of the horrors of Caelid, the mountaintop, resembling the mountaintop of the Giants, and last but not least, Noklateo, the Shrouded City, mirroring the likeness of Nokron or Nokstella. While all of these alter the experience on some occasions, the shifting event being pretty rare unless summoned manually, the player will mostly traverse the base landscape of Limveld, which can get repetitive very fast. A change of scenery should be put in place to refresh the gameplay from time to time. The first option would be to alter the entire look of Limveld, through season changes, going from summer to autumn to winter to spring, or to change the map thematically, bearing resemblance to different locations from the FromSoft universe, which can be hard to implement without proper story implications, but we have seen far more out of the ordinary things during our playtime of these titles.
Now wait just a moment. Do you think ill of me? Me?
The second option would be to implement more shifting earth locations. Knowing that only one cardinal direction is used for one such location, along with 3 out of 4 ordinal directions for the rest, that leaves 4 more spots for more shifting earth types, not even mentioning the center. It would be interesting to see locations based on Mogwyn Palace, the Academy of Rhea Lucaria, or even locations from the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, like the Finger Ruins, the Stone Coffin Fissure, or Midra's Manse. Perhaps, maybe even go further, and include locations similar to others from Dark Souls, like Sen's Fortress, Irithyll of the Boreal Valley, Catacombs of Karthus, or Hyde's Tower of Flame as a few examples. The options are filled to the brim, and so are opportunities to see more in the future. Number 7. Player communication. Comms in video games is an important feature that makes a lot of things easier. Whether you and your friend have that one random person in the lobby or you just play multiplayer as a solo to meet new people, it is convenient to be able to talk to them. There are a lot of other games that utilize a pinging system to its fullest extent. League of Legends, for example. The only issue in that comparison is that the genres are completely different. While MOBAs allow easier access to ping all over the map, third-person games like Nightreign don't offer the player the same liberty, mainly when the player has to go out of their way to open the map and start pinging for someone to try to understand what they mean with it. Voice communication is a staple in multiplayer games, and while one can argue that Nightreign isn't a competitive game like some BR or FPS games, it still emphasizes teamwork in order to defeat the many enemies presented to the player. If the concern of implementing such feature is that people might be toxic to each other, something that is prevalent since the dawn of multiplayer games, then that would make the reporting feature useless. While such systems are in place to combat that exact issue, toxicity should not be the end-all be-all to shut down an important feature like this. Nightreign being FromSoft's first big step of creating a real multiplayer experience, they should get accustomed to implementing new system properties that are normalized in many other games. Number 8. Relic system changes. Relics are a powerful tool to assist the player in becoming stronger upon embarking on an expedition, offering you multiple types of buffs, weapon modifiers, and consumables. While not game changers on their own, they provide enough of an edge to become important in a lot of situations, their only drawback being how they are acquired. There are 2 types of relics: guaranteed ones, that are obtained after completing chapters in the Nightfarer's Remembrances, by defeating the Night Lords, or by purchasing them from either the Small Jar Bazaar or the Collector Signboard. And the other relic type is the randomized one, dropping at the end of an expedition, or by purchasing the Scenic Flatstone from the Small Jar Bazaar. These relics are assigned random effects from multiple attribute pools, ranging from simple consumable items at the beginning of an expedition, all the way to ability or ultimate modifiers. Being heavily randomized, you have to be lucky to receive a rare relic that has 3 suitable effects for one of the characters, seeing as you can land on either a delicate, polished, or grand scene, allowing 1, 2, and 3 buffs respectively. Opening CSGO cases isn't a lot of Nightreign players' hobby, thus it's annoying that there is no reroll or merge system in place. Having the option to spend some merc to reroll 1 or 2 attributes of the relic would be a lot more beneficial than what we have right now. Or better yet, an option where a player could combine 2 relics and receive the preferred effects, at the cost of losing a relic in the process. One or both of these options would allow the player to have a lot more interesting builds, rather than to just spam expeditions to even have a chance to receive the right relic for a Nightfarer. Number 9. A better training area. For people who have sunk endless hours into the soulsborne games, this point makes no sense, but people more often than not don't realize that these games are mainstream now. While Dark Souls was only an obscure game from Japan in 2011, FromSoft has elevated their franchise to the point of creating genre-defining games. First Dark Souls 3, then eldenring has received the highest influx of new players in the past 10 years, which is a wonderful thing since all of them get to experience the beauty of these games. So for new players or people who don't get to train for the Soulsborne Olympics, having the option to practice is very important. There being a training area to test out weapons and Ashes of War is a very nice touch they have added into Nightreign. However, it's very limited in terms of actually helping the player learn. The only enemy present in this area, besides a couple of wooden posts, is a puppet, which doesn't present the biggest challenge at all. It would be an amazing feature for the players to choose an enemy or even a boss to practice against, whether it's combo strings, openings, or to learn how to dodge certain attacks. This alone would save at least 30% of the player base the headache of missing a dodge roll or being caught off guard by an attack they haven't seen before. And number 10, Endurance Mode. Growing up with arcade games and side-scrolling platformers, the notion of an endurance mode in games is most welcome in my book. Even in modern times with roguelike games such as The Binding of Isaac, Darkest Dungeon, and many more still keeping up that tradition. Nightreign adopting the roguelike category as well, it would make perfect sense to have an endless mode, where we create a profile and dwell into deeper and deeper expeditions, our run only ending with our character's demise. This, however, would bring up a lot of challenges with Nightreign's already existing systems, such as how would leveling work? Would they persist through further expeditions? Would we go beyond the level 15 cap and level up continuously like we do in other FromSoft games? This mode could be implemented in many ways. They could go into the simple direction of just eliminating the post-expedition screen, and instead of returning to the roundtable hold, we get picked up by the hawks and move on to the next expedition. Or go balls out and create new story elements, such as a void opening up allowing the Nightfarers to proceed into deeper depths, which coincidentally is going to happen in some way through the Deep of Night game mode, releasing on the 11th of September. With harder enemies, new relics, and a matchmaking rating, the only ones who will survive will be those willing to hang on to the strings of life with tooth and nail. This feature is probably not something a lot of casual players would like to see in the game, but I personally would love to see how far I would make it without seeing the defeat screen. Ever since discovering Dark Souls in the 2010s, I fell in love with the games of this nature. Nightreign has added a new twist to the classic gameplay formula of the FromSoft games, in a very positive way, where with its success, we will more than likely see future titles with a dedicated co-op feature, instead of the invasion system we are accustomed to. While it has taken a major step forward in development, there's still many more steps to take, which I can't wait to see become a reality. With the major DLC happening later this year, and many more amazing updates on the horizon, Nightrein's future is looking more promising by the day, and I'm all here for it. Let me know what you think about this list and if you agree or disagree with it. If you have more recommendations to be added, tell us all about them. Did you enjoy the video? Give it a like. Subscribe if you would like to keep up with similar videos, and I would appreciate it a lot if you did so. My name is Phobos. This is Where I Lie, and until next time...
Don't you dare go, Hollow.